Okay, is it the worst speech ever at the Oscars? Probably not, but I didn't love it. So Adrien Brody just broke the Guinness World Record for longest speech delivered at the Oscars. He spoke for 5 minutes and 36 seconds, which is kind of a mind-boggling amount of time to be rambling up on that stage. He broke the previous record of 5.5 minutes set by Greer Garson, who won Best Actress for her role in Mrs. Miniver at the 15th Academy Awards in 1943. So yeah, it's been like well over half a century. In her speech, she was talking about being thankful for the open arms she received as an immigrant, and for a second I was tripping because this lady is white as shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, I came to this country as a stranger 5 years ago. I have received such ready kindness that for quite a long while I couldn't believe that it was true.
But I forgot that even like British people back in the day experienced that immigrant struggle and whatnot. I mean, certainly not to the same extent as other groups, but you know what I'm saying. I don't think there's even a full video of her entire acceptance speech. I could only find like 50 seconds of it on YouTube. But hey, at least we get Adrien Brody's entire speech in all of its high-def glory. I'd like to clarify that I'm not at all saying Brody didn't deserve this award. In fact, I think he did to the fullest extent. The Brutalist was my favorite movie of the year, and I'm happy to see such a powerfully epic performance awarded. But when it comes to his speech, I can't say that I feel the same way. So he walks up on stage looking quite nervous, understandably so, and then he begins by talking about the fragility of acting.
Acting is a very fragile profession. It looks very glamorous, and in certain moments it is.
Now, I understand that acting is an extremely tough profession. It's a saturated field and there simply isn't enough work on the big screens for the sheer amount of people who want to do it as a career. But I feel like if I was an aspiring actor, I wouldn't particularly want to hear about perspective from two-time Academy Award winner Adrien Brody. He's been acting since childhood, and I know that he certainly had to work hard to get where he is in his acting career, but it just sort of feels disingenuous coming from him. Sure, he hasn't won an Oscar in a couple decades, but he was still getting continuous work throughout that period, enough to live lavishly upon, and certainly more than most actors could say for that same 20-year block. He talks about himself and his predicament as an actor during these times, despite the fact that he is and has been consistently a well-paid, recognizable face in Hollywood.
No matter where you are in your career, no matter what you've accomplished, it can all go away.
And while this is true, I have no clue why he even feels the need to say this. It seems like a sentiment that should be understood by anyone in this profession, and it's not like he has suffered from this during his long, successful career as an actor. He even mentions about half a minute later how this award is his quote-unquote chance to begin again.
Winning an award like this is, it signifies a destination, but to me it also, beyond the pinnacle of a career, it is a chance to begin again.
And I find this statement simply preposterous. What exactly is he coming back from? Not winning an Oscar? Boo fucking who, but there are thousands of actors who would kill to simply be able to survive off their work alone. I think this entire segment of his speech feels so unbelievably self-indulgent and ignorant, which really sucks because I do like Adrien Brody. At least I think he seems like a cool person. I fuck with his videos on Instagram where he's just walking on the streets of New York talking about whatever. I don't want to get it misconstrued that I like hate Adrien Brody or anything like that. He seems like a nice guy and he's a phenomenal actor, but this speech just feels like he went, yo, I'm gonna do this one off the top of my head, and he just ended up regurgitating a lot of filler with no substance. The entire middle portion of his speech was just thank yous, pretty standard stuff. Although he did take like 2 to 3 minutes longer to do so than the average recipient, I feel like, but whatever, I can't be mad at gratitude. Near the end, he said some things about hoping for a better future and a happier world, which good sentiments, but sort of hollow remarks that just anyone can kind of get behind and support. I was surprised that he didn't mention the Israel-Palestine conflict at all, outside of blanket statements like stop racism and stop anti-Semitism, which really don't serve much of a purpose outside of virtue signaling. It's kind of crazy to ignore considering not only the Brutalist being heavily themed around ethnic and religious oppression, but also the speech delivered earlier in the night from the team behind No Other Land, which won Best Documentary Feature Film, in which they specifically called for the end of Israel's occupation and destruction of Gaza, as well as for Hamas to release all of the Israeli hostages taken on October 7th, 2023.
We see each other, the atrocious destruction of Gaza and its people, which must end, the Israeli hostages brutally taken in the crime of October 7th, which must be freed. When I look at Bassel, I see my brother, but we are unequal. We live in a regime where I am free under civilian law, and Bassel is under military laws that destroy his life and he cannot control. There is a different path, a political solution, without ethnic supremacy, with national rights for both of our people.
It seems that Adrien Brody, being given such a large singular platform as the recipient of the Best Actor award, didn't address this important issue until the conclusion of his long-winded speech, and he cowered away from taking a stance in favor of liberation and against oppression and genocide. I'm obviously not saying that Brody's stance against hatred is bad, of course it's not, but I think that he could have and should have said much more for the innocent people who have suffered at the hands of violent institutions that have ignored innumerable calls for a ceasefire in Gaza. And just sort of a final reiteration, I'm not saying that every speech has to deliver some overt political messaging. However, there is a time and place, and I felt that Adrien Brody tried to make an appeal to the majority with flowery language about love, and he instead avoided taking a stance, weakening whatever message he was trying to convey in the first place. That's about all for me, and again, this is just my take on Adrien Brody's speech. Maybe you guys thought it was one of the best speeches ever given, and you are totally free to think that. But yeah, feel free to share your guys' stance on his speech in the comments. I'm curious to see what other people thought about this, and yeah, fuck.